Good morning, everyone. My name is Wesley Lasowski, and I'm a proud flight attendant. And even prouder to represent 10,517 flight attendants at Air Canada and Air Canada Rouge as the president of the Air Canada component of QP. I'm honored of having many of them join me here today. But I wanted to be clear, we do not want to be here. We're here because Air Canada and Air Canada Rouge have forced us to be here. We are here because Air Canada pays our junior flight attendants so little we had to open food banks in our union offices. Because our flight attendants are living 6 or 8 or 10 to a 2-bedroom apartment in Toronto or in RVs in the parking lot in the Vancouver airport. We're here because Air Canada forces us to work for free for hours and hours every day. And we are here because we're not going to accept it anymore. For 9 months, we have tried to bargain in good faith with Air Canada and Air Canada Rouge. And for 9 months, Air Canada has stonewalled us. They refused to end unpaid work. They refused to give our lowest paid flight attendants a raise to lift them out of poverty. And now Air Canada has left us no choice but to walk a picket line to end their corporate greed and exploitative practices. And when we said we wouldn't accept their unfair treatment anymore, they followed through with a lockout. Just so we can afford to pay rent and buy groceries. Just so we can live with dignity that every Canadian deserves. Now, we appreciate the hardship that this has caused on Canadians. We sincerely do. We feel the hardship too, because we would rather be flying and welcoming you on your journey or bringing you back home. We would rather be earning a paycheck than walking a picket line. No one should accept being forced to work for free for hours and hours every day. No one should accept being forced to work for poverty wages for years in a profession just to earn a dignifying living. That's what this is about. In Canada, in 2025, no one should be treated this way, and Canadians agree. Thousands and thousands have already visited unfaircanada.com to send a message to their MPs and to Air Canada's multimillionaire executives to say clearly that unpaid work won't fly. Air Canada flight attendants deserve a fair deal, and they do deserve it now. I'll pass it on to Natasha Stea.
Thank you, Wesley. Bon matin et merci d'être ici. Je m'appelle Natasha Stea et je suis fière d'être la présidente de la section locale 4091 du ACFP. Je représente les agentes et les agents de bord d'Air Canada basés à Montréal. C'est une tragédie que nous soyons ici aujourd'hui, car cela n'aurait jamais dû arriver. Nous avons tout essayé. Jamais nous avons souhaité voir nos Canadiennes et Canadiens anxieux et inquiets pour leur projet de voyage. We are heartbroken for our passengers. Nobody wants to see Canadians stranded or anxious about their travel plans. But we cannot work for free. Every single hour we put in deserves to be recognized and paid. Air Canada has called us unreasonable for asking for better than poverty wages just 1 year after they gave their pilots a 26% increase. Why is fair pay acceptable for one group of workers but not for us? Is it because the group of workers are men and the other is 70% women and 10% from the LGBTQ2+ community? Nous en sommes profondément attristés et sommes désolés pour nos passagères et passagers. Mais nous ne pouvons plus continuer à travailler gratuitement. Chaque heure que nous consacrons à notre travail mérite d'être reconnue et rémunérée. Air Canada nous qualifie de déraisonnables parce que nous demandons mieux que le salaire de misère. Rappelons qu'il y a 1 an, la compagnie a accordé une augmentation salariale de 26% à ses pilotes. Pourquoi un salaire équitable est-il acceptable pour un groupe de travailleurs, mais pas pour nous? Est-ce parce que le groupe de travailleurs est composé d'hommes et que l'autre, 70% femmes et 10% de la communauté LGBTQ2+? Depuis des années, les salaires de notre profession à prédominance féminine stagnent, tandis que ceux des pilotes et des mécaniciens continuent d'augmenter. Air Canada tente de maintenir et de renforcer cet écart salarial entre les sexes et demande même au gouvernement de l'aider à le faire. Elle s'attend à ce que nous acceptons d'être exploités, sous prétexte que c'est la norme de l'industrie depuis toujours. Mais nous refusons. Notre travail est important et le moment est venu de mettre fin à l'exploitation des agentes et des agents de bord par Air Canada. We're happy to take a few questions.
Sean Schaefer, Global News. I'm just wondering if you could address some of the issues that have been raised to us about some of the flight attendants who are abroad, not here, either being kicked out of their hotel rooms or being forced to pay. What's the situation with that, please?
So the company advised us, I guess 2 days ago roughly, that they'd be paying for their expenses and their hotels. The union sought clarity from Air Canada if they'd be paying their wages or how they'll be returned home. We sought a wind-down agreement, and Air Canada confirmed late yesterday that they will not be compensating flight attendants working home. They did confirm that they will be paying for their hotels and their expenses while they're away. There have been some hiccups we've been hearing about. We've been attempting to address it with Air Canada, but they're not really communicating with the membership, their employees, or the union at this time.
Then there was a cease and desist letter served on the union. Can you speak about that and what that arose from?
So that rose from us disseminating factual communication and countering back on the information that's coming from some of Air Canada's executives and some of Air Canada's press releases that unfortunately just aren't what's truly happening and not factual. So myself, posted stuff to the membership along with the bargaining committee, advising them to seek clarity, make sure you know what you're getting into. The company wants you to take their passengers with care and class blindly to a destination, and then they don't want to confirm what's going to happen to you. All we wanted to do was make sure that our members were compensated and their current collective agreement, so the current one they're working under, will be adhered to. Air Canada refused to do that. They literally started dismantling their airline on their own by not talking to their employees or communicating with the union, raising the questions to ensure a smooth and sensible shutdown. That is factually what happened.
Can you speak to how many flight attendants are still stuck abroad or stuck away from their home base?
We don't have any numbers from that because Air Canada has also cut us out from the internal systems where we would be able to see what's happening. So the only visibility we have on that right now is the members that are reaching out to us.
Wesley, Andrew Brennan, CP24. You are the person that's actually addressed that letter too. I just wanted to ask you very quickly, do you think there's anything that you, either as a representative of the union or as someone communicating publicly for the union, do you have anything that you think you need to cease and desist doing?
That I need to cease and desist doing?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
And the follow-up, just thinking about something that was told to me by one of the locals today, one of the VPs for the local. They said that there are flight attendants that are getting more in strike pay on the picket lines than they would if they were in the air. What does that say to you?
It says that what we're fighting for is entry level. What we require for our membership is required. It shows that pretty much any other industry has protections except for our industry. And it just demonstrates time and time again how little we are paid and how willingly Air Canada accepts that practice. And we're just not going to accept that anymore. It's not going to be the status quo.
Linda Ward from CBC. Can you speak to what the union is doing specifically for those flight attendants who are stranded, not able to get back home at this point?
So as far as I'm aware, as of right now, there's nobody stranded, not able to get home. What has happened is the company has put them into their lodgings, is paying for their expenses, and has extended some of them a couple days or up to a week is what I've been seeing or hearing from the members. But nobody is technically stranded that I'm aware of at this moment. Everybody has been taken care of.
Okay, for those who are not getting paid on their way home.
All of them are not getting paid. I just want to confirm that, yeah.
Will the union be able to do anything? That?
The union had a discussion this morning. I'm going to talk to the bargaining committee afterwards, and there's going to be a few things that we're going to put forward to attempt to get these members paid. I believe, again, this is where unpaid work comes from. What are they to be compensated under the code? How is the code going to protect them? Just because they don't have a contract doesn't mean Air Canada can stop paying them, yet require them to work.
This didn't need to end this way. There was the option of going to binding arbitration. You weren't in favor of that, but you speak about how much support you've had from the general public. Why was it that you thought that binding arbitration would not get you a better deal than what has been offered by Air Canada?
The best deal is going to be negotiated at the table, and the reason I say that in this industry is I understand, the bargaining committee and our members understand the working conditions we're currently under, what needs to be changed and why. The company also is well aware of that. We've both had 10 years simultaneously to work through this collective agreement. Somebody putting us, or somebody working through, that arbitrator working through is not going to have that intent knowledge behind it, except what both sides are going to portray it as. That's going to be issue number one. Issue number two, our members won't get to ratify it. 10 years, no say, and a management team that you guys are all seeing how they're treating us, both through public, through tweets, how they communicate with us. It needs to stop. This is the only way. Bargain it, deal with it, fight those differences out at the table, not in front of the workers, and bring them back something that they'll be proud of and the company can live with.
Is there anything
Thank you. Sorry?
Is there anything going on at the table right now, or any schedule for when you might be able to get back there?
Nothing scheduled. We met face-to-face with them late last night, but nothing scheduled for right now. But again, fully available minus this.
What was that meeting last night?
Yeah, it was basically just a face-to-face, I feel, to have a box ticked by Air Canada, coming to the table saying, what are your issues? Let us explain things. They played around with some wages, but nothing of substance that we'd be able to bring back to members.
So it was a perfunctory sort of meeting? It wasn't substantive?
In my opinion, yes.
Did you get pressure, last-minute pressure from the government to do that, to try to work something out?
I think the government's been instrumental in saying, okay, you guys need to be at the table. Up to this point, you need to be at the table. You need to be working on it. That's where it needs to be done. So, yeah.
So who do you think has to make the first move here to get something going in a meaningful way?
Air Canada, 100%.
Is that because two last proposals, according to statements from the union, were not even addressed by Air Canada? Or is that because you feel like you put something forward that hasn't been even really acknowledged?
I think it's all the way around, but it's what, respectfully, the media is echoing to us. You guys understand how little we're paid. You understand reading the facts, reading the collective agreement, understanding the pay structure, seeing that in this contract we had to fight to ensure that our Rouge flight attendants were paid an appropriate level just if they lost their shifts. There's so much that has happened in the last 10 years that the wage proposal we put forward is not only fair, but it's attainable. And everybody leaves a cushion in bargaining. And we have been black and white with our membership through this round of bargaining to say, here's where we're starting, here's where we're ending. You obviously don't say everything, but you make sure that they're well aware of where you're at. What we're asking for is not unreasonable. It is not a high demand. It is not that far off other comparators such as Air Transat. It is realistic and it is deserved. We are the national carrier and we have people operating in poverty. Like, that's disgusting. That's very problematic. So the company needs to be willing to address those things. You can't go the status quo and say 8% is enough, 10% is enough. It's not. You're still leaving them behind and too far behind.
Is the status quo changing when it comes to ground pay? There are a lot of air carriers in the U.S., like Delta, they're not even unionized. They put, I think it's roughly a third of hourly wage is basically how much they give people per hour for being on the ground. Please don't quote me on that, but it's roughly around there. Moral of the story is there's options that other air carriers in the U.S. or otherwise have come to. Do you think that it would be not unreasonable to assume a Canadian air carrier could do the same?
Well, we see our non-union, which is now Porter is union, which is excellent. They've joined the airline division of CUPE, and they've joined CUPE, which is fascinating. But before joining, they were paid better on the ground than Air Canada and Air Canada Rouge. They already had what's called a boarding pay. So they get 50% of 1 hour's rate of pay paid for that. This is not even up to the standard that Air Canada came back to us with. So the non-union airline received more than the unionized airline at this stage of the game. So that should show where Air Canada takes that. But do I think it's attainable? Yes. It's required.
On the sexist aspect that you've raised, the fact that the pilots and mechanics have been treated in one way versus the way that you're being treated, do you think the public gets that? Is this why you're talking about that so much? The idea that men are being treated one way and women, predominantly female, labor-based, are being treated the other.
I think it's a big thing in our industry when it comes to the whole array of how you identify and one's sex. And I think we've seen that year over year that a pilot's here, pilot's here, pilot's here, and our pilots are excellent. That is not to talk down to them. But why does the flight attendant have to be here? And why does that female-dominated base of Air Canada have to be pushed down here? It's just illogical today, and that's something that we're trying to highlight because that's exactly where it is. The female group is typically, going to follow the lead, is typically going to be quieter, is not going to go and feel those pressures. Well, we're showing you outside of airports, that that's not factual anymore. They deserve equality.
Carly Donahue, City News. Just to further on that point, when you mentioned how pilots were given I think it was 26% raise just a year ago, was that discussed? Was there a conversation brought towards you, kind of any justification, explanation, versus this group is fighting for more compensation? Was there any kind of conversation internally about that?
Like with the company?
Yeah, did Air Canada bring that forward? Was there a discussion or?
No.
And just to actually confirm on that, my understanding is one of the offers, August 11th or 12th, around there, give or take, was pulling back the essential request for parity with what the pilots had received. Was there some sort of, from the standpoint of the union taking it off the table, did anything like that happen?
We haven't taken anything necessarily off the table. We've rejigged how things are put forward. So with our wages, we're trying to obviously use parity, use external flight attendants, internal pilots, where we want to go, i.e. how long of the collective agreement, where we should be at, because we've had 10 years of nothing. So there's a whole array of things. So how I've been explaining it is we had a balloon this big, knowing that we had to be reasonable and come down from there, as every union does, but we haven't gone to here. We're not going to here. We're here, and we're slowly coming in, readjusting where those levels need to be.
How long do you think it's going to take for you guys to come to some kind of an agreement that's acceptable to both sides?
I've been saying for 9 months now that we should already have an agreement. So I truly don't know how to answer that question because it's not my group unwilling to come to the table. It's not my group unwilling to discuss the things. And it's my group who sees the value in their employees and our members. I feel it's the complete opposite on every single one of those points with the company. If they saw value, if they saw us as true brand carriers, if they saw the need to pay us livable wages, we would already have a deal and this wouldn't be a thing. That's just the way it would be.
But following up on Linda's point, is it going to be public pressure? Is it going to be pressure from the government on Air Canada? Like what's the end game here that's going to get people back in the air?
I personally believe it'll be public pressure, and we're seeing so much of it. So we see public pressure going through our Unfair Canada campaign. We see the copious amounts of letters that we're being copied on that are going to the company. We see the general public taking Air Canada by storm through public messaging and all that kind of stuff. That works. Air Canada is very receptive to their brand, as they should be, as any company should be. Just members reaching out through social media and that, just advising Air Canada, this is no more acceptable. I can't be loyal nor follow this. It makes a huge difference with them, and it'll make a huge difference at this table to get a settlement.
What does that kind of do for morale for those on the picket line, seeing such an intense public response to you all taking job action?
It's huge. This is what has allowed us to come this far, push the way we have, gauge the way we have. We have amazing resources and people behind us, but our members have seen that. We have a powerful, strong, national union which has assisted side by side in fighting us. To the comms people, to the national reps. It's been amazing. And so our members have seen the fight that we've taken for them, the fight at the table and the fight before them, and they're owning it. They're realizing, wow, I should be paid better. Wow, I should be respected by my employer. I am not just a number. People recognize that. Yeah. Any last question? No? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to flip you.
Good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Sorry. I didn't cry.
I didn't know when.
Good job.